Hey, what's up, guys? How we doing? So I wanted to put a video up today talking about competition and how we use it with our guys in practice and throughout the year, and um, how I think players can use it, whether you use it with yourself or with a friend or with some teammates, or if you're a coach and you use it with your guys in practice. Talk about some of the things that it can do for your team, and also ways that we have the guys compete. So. Um, For me, the first thing is making sure that you're tracking things. And I always say what gets measured gets done. So um, we track basically everything as much as we can, and it doesn't have to be done every single day, but we make sure that we have all these numbers. So first, guys know where they stand. They know where they match up with other players on their team. Um, we take the things that we track and we post it so everybody um, knows where they stand, and so there's no hiding. Um, and we don't do it to embarrass guys, but we do it to hold them accountable. And also, I've found over the years that when players have a clear understanding of where they're at, where other players are at, where they have to get to, they work a little harder. So they'll do things on their own. They'll push themselves a little bit more at practice because, when you list, when we put up our list, we have 70 something guys in our program. When we put up that list and you're at the bottom of the list, no one likes to be down there. Um, and so they work a little bit harder to try to get from the bottom of the list and start working their way up. And at first they don't like the fact that we're putting it up there and that they are at the bottom. Um, but that only lasts for a little bit, and then they realize it's time to start working a little bit harder. Um, so first, the things that we track. For hitters, we track ball exit speed off the bat. Um, we'll track when we're watching, when we're hitting batting practice. We'll track things like line drive percentage, chase percentage, of what guys are doing as far as controlling the strike zone. Are they chasing out of the zone? Are they getting good pitches to hit? Um, we'll go through and have competitions where we'll have quality at bat competitions. You can really chart anything that you want to get done in the game, anything that you want your players to get better at. Um, I suggest you chart it, and again, it doesn't have to happen every single day, but we try to chart it at least, every couple of weeks. We're trying to chart something to make sure that we're holding the players accountable, giving them something to focus on for that day, and plus it's fun. The players seem to like competing against each other. As far as pitching goes, we'll do what we call competitive bullpens. So we'll chart all kinds of different stuff. Sometimes we'll have the guys compete against each other in a game of, if you played basketball, if you shot the ball around, played horse, we'll do something very similar to that. Um, we'll track first pitch strikes. We'll track strike percentage. We chart mostly all of our bullpens, so we have an understanding, and the guys have an understanding of how many quality pitches they're throwing per bullpen. We don't just want them to go out there and just throw. Sometimes we'll have bullpens where they'll just go and they're working on something mechanically, but we want to chart. Um, what pitches they're throwing, where they're trying to throw it, and are they successful throwing it there? And then we chart that, and so the players have an understanding of, again, what they're doing compared to some other guys. If you're a guy that, some players don't really understand, they'll throw a 20, 30 pitch bullpen, and they'll say afterwards, they can tell, it wasn't a good bullpen, or yeah, that was a really good bullpen. But sometimes they don't have an understanding of how good or how bad or where they compare with other guys. And so when you can put a list together and say, well, I executed 15% of my pitches, and this guy executed, 75% of his pitches, um, they start to get an understanding of where they're at, and sometimes they have to work a little bit harder, or have to focus a little bit more, or just have to get the job done. So those are some of the things. Again, there's so much that you can chart. Those are a few things just off the top of my head that we chart. Um, Again, things that I think it helps with. For one, it definitely raises the players' focus and effort and energy, and it pushes them. They all of a sudden get into more of a game-like atmosphere when you start charting things, and when you start making them compete against each other. Um, the other thing that I like is, because there's, we're charting. What we'll do is will have consequences sometimes. So sometimes if the winner won't have to do something or the loser will have to do something, and you can make up whatever it is that you want them to do. But because there's consequences, it puts them a little bit more in a game type atmosphere. So, in a game, there's a lot more pressure obviously than there is in practice. And one of the things with practice is if you don't have consequences and if you don't have them compete and challenge them, then they never learn how to perform under those pressures that you feel in a game. And although you might never be able to completely create the type of atmosphere and practice that is in a game, I think you can get pretty close if you're creative. And that really teaches the players. For one, it makes them comfortable, kind of being that, having that uncomfortable feeling. But then also, it teaches them how to deal with things when they're not going well, and when a pitcher's competing against someone in practice and they make a couple of bad pitches, now all of a sudden they're losing in the game that we're playing. They have to learn how to regroup, refocus, and get back to doing what they need to do. So it teaches those skills of um, how to calm yourself down, how to breathe properly, how to step off the mound and take a deep breath and refocus. Instead of just in practice, what I see a lot of teams is, again, just go through the reps and there's no pressure, there's no consequences, and so the players never learn. They never learn what it's like to be in a game until they're in a game, and at that point, it's very hard to try um, to learn and get better because we're trying to win at that time, and players are trying to perform. So again, those are just some of the things that we do as far as competition goes, as far as competing with each other, tracking everything. If you have any more ideas or things that you do that you think would work for us, I'm always interested in learning new ideas and hearing things. So shoot me an email or comment in the section below.